Well, for me, Howie, it was two words: unity and community, because our community came together in times of need, and this was certainly a time of need. I will tell you this, that I live on Waverly Avenue in Oceanside, and quickly Waverly Avenue became Waverly River. And yeah, but my job was, I thought, on that block, was to kind of find the humor in things. After losing Sue, you know, having 4.5 feet of water in my house was nothing. I knew I was going to be able to recover from that. Yes, I did lose some valuable pictures and memorabilia, but they can't take that away from me up here. So I do remember those things. But I would go down the block and put some signs up on people's lawns once the water receded. Like, for instance, I had a sign that said beachfront property. There was another sign that I put up there that said we were going to have a garage sale, slightly moist, but we're willing to negotiate. But some people needed to grieve, and they did just that. But the key to me was that we all came together. You know, there were people down the block who maybe got their power a little bit faster than maybe I might have gotten it back, invited me down to the house to have something to eat. I wasn't going to let it beat me. It took about 4 weeks and 3 days to get power back in my house. But Thanksgiving came, and what I decided to do was I bought 4 space heaters, put one on each corner of the dining room table, and we had our normal Thanksgiving, as normal as it could be. So yeah, the key here is that, you know, we always face tragedies in our lives, and this was one that I hope we'll never see again. It was the perfect storm, as they said. But we all came together, we all helped each other, and the unity was amazing, and you made new friends, and you made new members of the community that you never met before because of something like this. So there's a blessing in negativities. The fact that we did find our way through this, and you know, it still is sad that there are people out there who have not moved into their homes yet after 5 years. You know, we pray for those people to find their way as well. But we're very fortunate that we're moving forward, and hopefully we've taken some precautions at this point, especially rebuilding the boardwalk here in Long Beach. And you know, with New York Rising, you see houses going up a little bit higher than they normally were. So we're finding our way through this as well as best we can. But it was an incredible experience, hopefully one we all will never face again.
I remember, because we lived in Rockaway at the time, just everything was destroyed basically. And I remember one of my best friends who lived in one of the huge apartment buildings in Rockaway, before our school went back up, obviously, because it was flooded, he would run up the side of the buildings and the fire escapes to see if there were any people, like elderly people who couldn't get down through the stairs, or people who were who their first language wasn't English, because he was Polish. He understood Polish and would translate, and he would sit there. He went to every single apartment building through the fire escape with a team of a whole bunch of other people, of kids actually, who also spoke different languages, and asked them, "Do you need anything? How can we help you?" And he would run down from each floor, go to the aid that was there, and gather up all the things, and they would be bringing them to the people who couldn't get them themselves. I also remember that I was in Scholars Academy, and our school building was completely destroyed. So we had to, for a good 3 or 4 months, go to a different school in Brooklyn, and we were packed an entire school into 2 or 3 classrooms in this one school, and we had to be bused from the building that was our school to the school in Brooklyn that they let us have our education, and I also remember my friends from Breezy Point not being able to go home, and even some of them still haven't been able to go home. They're living in Brooklyn now. So yeah.
We were Sandy. We were on Rockaway. We were on Rockaway Beach. We were on Beach 96th Street and Shorefront Parkway, dead across from the water. And what saved us was the concession stand. And I remember watching the waves coming over the concession stand. And I remember waking up the next day and stepping out into like my terrace, and the whole boardwalk was toothpicks. And there was a man with a camera on top of the toothpicks, and it was Rocco Vertuccio from New York One. And it's funny because we just shared that we were in Puerto Rico, and the only channel we were able to see was actually New York One.
Wow.
The whole time we were there. We were watching the news about ourselves. So basically, wow, there's so much about Sandy, but one thing that I really took away from Sandy was how much people really did come together. People from everywhere. As soon as they were able to get over the Cross Bay Bridge, which had all kinds of boats all over it, and on the other side past Floyd Bennett, as soon as they were able to get there were just hordes of people. And I remember telling people, like, there were little old ladies who were cooking spaghetti dinners, and there were surfers who had 24-hour barbecues, and there were veterans who were coming to help clean people's houses with bleach, and people from all different states of the United States coming out and shoveling the sand and helping to repair and to put the power back on. We were without electric for 35 days. We were without heat for a good 20-something days, and we were, it was cold, and people from my husband's trade union gave us a kerosene heater and some other things. Some of the firefighters came and gave us things. We have 2 boys who have autism, and unfortunately shelters do not always have trained people or can deal with people who have autism who are having a flip out or a meltdown because they don't know how to handle a natural disaster. So we had to make a decision whether it was better to ride it out with our children in a place that was familiar to them, or drag them into a giant armory full of people having a meltdown and not having skilled people to help them. And unfortunately, the decision was to stay, and we got through it, thank God. And even the schools, the teachers from the schools came. The autism school my children went to, New York Center for Autism Charter School, they came out to visit the boys, to give them that normalcy, and some of the parents donated things. I remember that on the other end of Rockaway was the Tide people, and some of the people from going towards 5 Towns came out and took our laundry and washed it and brought it back to us because it was very cold and we needed warm things. And people knocking on your door. I remember the kids, what my daughter described was the beginning of the Rockaway Youth Task Force. Those children became the Rockaway Youth Task Force, and they're doing, to this day, amazing things in Rockaway. And I remember that Brianna, who at the time was in middle school, she started to come out to Long Beach because we in Rockaway had heard that Long Beach, there was something we had that Long Beach didn't have, and that was sanitary water. Because Long Beach did not have clean water, but Rockaway had clean water. And she started going with some of her music teachers, and she was one of her first performances out here publicly was for the Long Live Long Beach concerts to bring aid to the people of Long Beach and help people of Long Beach rebuild. And as a result, she's always had a connection to the Long Beach community. That's how she met Howie. She's had one of her first performances at Howie, and she's still here. And there are still people like who haven't gone home 5 years later and still, need that assistance. But I'm very glad that we're able to stand here 5 years later, and it's the past, and we're okay, and things are better, and a lot of very good community groups and a lot of good things came out of that. And my hope is that 5 years from now, I'm going to tell you that Puerto Rico is rebuilt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.